How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Scarlet. Welcome back to PokeForward. Today we're going to take a look at some leaks, rumors, all that sort of stuff. Starting things off with this post right here, coming to us from Central Leaks, who said Leaker K, and he's talking about Riddler Coup here. Riddler Coup, for those who do not know, is a legitimate, like a straight up, actual, real leaker. And he specifically posted this little, like, I guess, poll, asking people, what's on your wish list? Place your bets. And here's what basically Central says. Leaker K is now asking people what kind of UNOVA game they would like to see. Whether it's a hint or a troll remains to be seen. Now, the actual post itself, we're going to go and take a look at that one too. Just got to make sure we find it here. Here it is. So it says, what's on your wish list? Place your bets. And it says, let's go UNOVA, Pokemon Legends Kyurem. And let's see if I can show this to you guys here on the screen. So here it is. So this is the original tweet from Central Leaks, and this is the tweet from Coup. And basically, it says, let's go UNOVA, Pokemon Legends Kyurem, Black and White 3, and then it also says Paradox UNOVA, which would, I guess, just imply, when it says Paradox UNOVA, I'm going to assume that implies Paradox Pokemon from UNOVA. And the thing with me is that I don't think any of these besides Paradox UNOVA are possible. Now, of course, if we look at these, the most cool one would probably be Black and White 3 and Legends Kyurem. Let's go UNOVA, not really a cup of tea, but these two in the middle are definitely the most popular one. If I was to, let's say, click Legends Kyurem, yes, it is the most popular one out of the, I don't know, 27,000 votes. So Black and White 3 and Legends Kyurem seem to be the highest voted ones. Some people do not like the Legends games because they don't have Wi-Fi gameplay and, like, you know, you can't really battle other players, which I don't really care about. I don't really care for VGC. I don't really care for Wi-Fi battling. I would appreciate if it was there just because, you know, it's a cool option to have and it opens some venues for things. And it makes the people who do like that kind of stuff happy. I personally don't care because the way I play Pokemon is more for the actual world, the story, the adventure, right? Is what I play Pokemon for. That's personally my thing, right? So Legends Kyurem does appeal to me. Black and White 3, on the other hand, is a big one that a lot of people do want to see because Black and White 2 came out and people always wanted to get more of that, right? Like they wanted to, whatever the next thing could be, you know, for Black and White would be Black and White 3, which I think is highly unlikely. Super unlikely, just because adding the 3 in there is going to imply a lot of things. It's going to be less likely for certain people to buy it just because of that number, where I feel like a different naming scheme would work the best. Or, you know, a Kyurem game, a Legends Kyurem game, something like that. Not a lot of people want Let's Go UNOVA, though. Doesn't seem like the case. But either way, why am I even talking about this? Well, because Riddler Coup is a legitimate leaker. This man has leaked things nonstop, and he even leaked a very recent thing, which was specifically about the brand new Mewtwo. So this is a thing that came out specifically here. You guys can look at this. Shout out to Sodame over on r/PokeLeaks, who actually tweeted out all this. So version 1.3.2 added a new interesting message. Mew is going all out against this formidable opponent. This is used when a Mew enters a 7-star Mewtwo raid. Mew gets 50% HP boost and 20% stat boost to all 5 other stats. My Mew's original stats, and then you guys can see all that. Basically, there is going to be a raid with Mewtwo, right? That's pretty much confirmed. And in this case, it came from the, you know, data miner, specifically revealing it's going to be a 7-star raid. Now, the funny thing is that this was already pretty much confirmed by Coup. And he actually even makes a whole nod at it by posting this right here when this information came out that there's going to be this raid. So he just kind of already hinted this. So that's kind of, again, proves that he is a legitimate leaker and he has actual legitimate info. And he just tweeted recently something else, which was R-Fake. He literally just tweeted R-Fake. R-Fake is regional fakes. And if you guys don't know what we're talking about when we say regional fakes, we're specifically talking about the Pokemon that, like, let's talk about Wiglet, right? Wiglet is a regional fake. It is what he called them back when we first didn't even know what these Pokemon were going to be. And they're basically just, like, Pokemon that look like they should be regional forms or something like that, but aren't really, right? And the thing is, he just tweeted R-Fake, and then, do you like R-Fake, lazy, or creative? Which is weird, because would that imply there's going to be more regional fakes in the DLC? Most likely, let's be real. At least 1 or 2 will be in there. But then he also just asked if, you know, what we think about it. Which, you know, I feel like it is just not that creative. It's kind of lazy, just taking existing Pokemon and then regurgitating them again and again. Again, it's nothing totally wrong with it, but it would be cool to see more cool new designs, right? Like what we did see in Generation 9, which I personally like. Like the new designs are pretty cool for certain Pokemon. Some are stinkies, but either way, again, this brings us back to the original point here, which of course has got to be, you know, what is up here? Why are we talking about UNOVA? I personally think the answer to whatever he's trying to say here that's going to be happening, because he says place your bets, which would imply that this is something that's going to happen. I personally think Paradox UNOVA is going to be the thing. Now, what do we mean by Paradox UNOVA? Basically, just Paradox form. Think of all the Paradox Pokemon that you've seen in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet so far, right? All the Pokemon down in Area 0, those are Paradox Pokemon. At least that's the term we've given them, thanks to Ku, because that's how he basically, you know, kind of portrayed it, right? And he even calls himself right now Ku's Paradox sequel, which is funny because the whole Paradox thing was something he started, and now the sequel aspect, I guess, would imply something else, which it's all a bit of haze. Okay, now here's the thing. We want to take a look at some other stuff as well, because there's a lot of hints to what's coming down the line in terms of this, what could be happening. Like, are we going to get UNOVA next year? Personally, I don't think so. I am still firmly on the track of believing that next year will be Johto games. At least that's what I think. Also, there's just casually a jet flying by. Like, I think it's a military plane. It's just a jet flying by right now, casually. Ignore that. Either way, what are we talking about? Well, basically, I personally think that Johto is still going to be the most likely thing to pop up, okay? Like, Johto is still the most likely scenario for next year. The reason I say this is because the way the remakes have worked, but again, I could be totally wrong on this. They could do UNOVA for next year and make UNOVA the final games for the Switch, right? They could do that. Next year could be UNOVA. It's the final games for the Switch. I just don't think that's going to be the case. Why do I say this? Because they usually don't do the remakes in that order, right? The remakes are always made every other generation or so. We already had remakes for the Switch, right? The remakes were Pokemon BDSP and, I guess, somewhat Legends Arceus, but BDSP were the remake games of this console generation, right? However, we are ending this console generation most likely next year. If you guys haven't heard, the Switch, there's even possibly like dev kits going around for the second Switch or the new Switch, whatever you want to call it. I don't really know what to even refer it to. The next Nintendo mainline console, whatever that's going to be. If it's going to be an iteration of the Switch, most likely that's going to be the case. Probably just a stronger Switch with a slightly different name. But whatever it is, that's where the next Pokemon mainline games will be on, right? I don't think they're going to put a new generation on this current Switch. I don't think so. I don't think we're going to get a massive, remake game or anything like that. I just think we're going to get some sort of Johto stuff, just something Johto related. The reason I say this is because usually these games are in development for a long period of time. You got to understand, Scarlet and Violet were in development many years ago. Like, they started development a long time ago. Same thing with a lot of these games. They've been in development for a few years already by the time we get them, right? And of course, they always could use a little bit of extra time to fine-tune them. But the thing is, though, following the way they've been doing stuff, and they still haven't missed, by the way. They still haven't gone off of that, kind of a pattern, if you want to call it that, right? Like, the way it's always been is like this, right? We get a new generation, right? And depending on if it's in a, which one of the generations it matches into, we get a remake within that generation, and then one generation without a remake, and then so on and so forth, right? So if we go back in time and start things off from specifically, I guess, Generation 4, right? Because if we start from Generation 4, those two generations, Generation 3 and Generation 4, were the first time we actually got remakes. But starting from Generation 4, going all the way until now, until present time, we would get a generation we would get a remake every other generation. That's what would happen, right? So look at it this way. Basically, Generation 4 comes out, we get Heart Gold, Soul Silver, remakes of Johto. We then go to Generation 4 to Generation 5. Generation 5, we get Black and White, but no remakes. We go to Generation 6, we get remakes of Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, so remakes of Ruby and Sapphire. We go to Generation 7, no remakes. There was no remakes during the Sun and Moon era. You can say that Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee were. Yes, you could argue that, which is the only problem that comes into this. However, they weren't the remakes people were expecting. They weren't even remakes per se. It was a remake of Yellow, which is its own can of worms that I don't want to go into today. However, we didn't get a remake of Generation 4, which was the next anticipated remake. We didn't get that during that period. We got it the generation after that, Generation 8, which is where we got BDSP. And now we're in Generation 9, where logically, we shouldn't be receiving the same way that Generation 7 didn't have a remake game. Instead, we got Let's Go, Pikachu and Eevee. We would be expecting this generation to also recreate one of the older games. Basically, they would be remaking games multiple times, or remaking generations multiple times. The most logical one being Johto. It's the only game that hasn't gotten a remake since, well, I guess, secondary remake since, Heart Gold Soul Silver. It was the last time, we saw it, actually. Last time we saw Johto was in Heart Gold Soul Silver, which was the same time that we got Diamond Pearl Platinum, right? So it's been as long since then for that as well. Whereas Black and White are more recent. Sure, they were a long time ago as well, but they are more recent, which just makes more sense that we would get maybe something like a Legends type game or a, let's say Johto type game instead. However, the fact that he's bringing this up makes me more feel like that it is the Paradox UNOVA point, right? The last bottom point. It makes me feel like it's more of that rather than a Legends Kyurem or a Let's Go UNOVA type game. I'm not expecting that. I'm more expecting it to be just him trying to hint that we're going to get some Paradox Pokemon from UNOVA, which could also still be a hint for something down the line. It doesn't have to mean that it's going to be happening next year or the next games that are coming out are going to be specifically about UNOVA. It could also imply that it's coming down the line, which could be the case. Or that is what's happening. And if we are getting UNOVA next year, I am really curious how this is going to turn out. What is that even going to be? Is it just going to be a regular remake? Why would it be happening in this generation? Why would they be not capitalizing on, the fact that people do want Johto and that it is probably a little bit more popular by the fact that it has Kanto with it? I don't know. I would just be surprised if UNOVA came out next year. It would genuinely be a shock to me. I would be happy. I'll be excited, but it just feels a lot larger, right? It's Black and White. It's a lot larger where I would expect it to need some bit more time before they actually put it out there. Unless they go really half-assed and they just make UNOVA as bare bones as possible. But again, anything is possible. So that's going to be it for today's news, guys. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.